want to make an announcement. We had an executive session regarding some litigation.
Correct.
In public comment, anybody have a public comment? Mr. Jones?
George Jones, I live on Clover Lane. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did listen to the recordings of the last meeting. And I just want to kind of clarify what was talked about regarding the BoS Road project, where the paperwork for the money from the state, from the liquid fuels tax, it wasn't submitted on time. And then that was, I guess, for $182,000. That's what I got out of the recording. You know,
Probably,
give or
huh?
take.
Was it? It's like 180.
But because the paperwork wasn't submitted on time, or that's at least what I get out of the recording. Where did the $182,000 come from to cover the cost of the BoS Road project? If we couldn't get it from the state, where'd the money come from?
So that money comes from our road program funding. But the liquid fuels tax money is still present. We're able to use it in a future project. So for next year's project, that money will be incorporated into next year's project. So we didn't lose that money, if that's what you're asking. It's going to roll forward.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure. And but now you're saying that there's a fund for road project?
Yes, in our budget, we plan for the road project every year, and we had to use that funding to basically pay that difference. Because we still have to pay a majority of the portion of the road program to begin with, and so we do have a contingency to allow for any, change orders or things like that. We basically utilize those funds to cover what would have normally been covered by the liquid fuels tax. But we'll get that back because it rolls over to next year.
Yeah, okay. I just wasn't clear, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more on that topic. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Buck Reed from Perkhaven Mill Road. I just have to ask you, just because I already have the answer here, but with you working as the secretary and being the township supervisor, I'm hearing word out there that there's a conflict of interest. Is there anything like that?
No, so we actually addressed this when they officially hired Bill, but under the second class township code, it's not a conflict of interest for a supervisor to also be a roadmaster, a secretary. There are certain positions that are allowed to be held by a supervisor.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it's circulating a bit out there, and that different people that I'm friends with asked me, if I did my own work on, and it's right here. Act 1933, Act 69, Chapter 6, Article 6, Section 2, 602A, members of the Board of Supervisors may be appointed as treasurer, secretary, or treasurer with regards to Board of Supervisors, which are designated as 3 board members. Any supervisor who is to be considered by the board for an appointed township position or for employment by the township as authorized by law shall not be excluded from voting on the issue of such appointment or employment. Action taken by the supervisor shall be deemed to be within the scope of authority as a supervisor and shall not be deemed to constitute any legal or an improper conflict of interest. And that was amended to add that December 18th, 1996. I just wanted that on the record because I don't think it's right that that's being put out there about you. So I just wanted to ask you directly and make sure that what I have here is factually correct.
It was done for duplicity.
Because that was going around down the polls. It was being told to me, and I don't think that's.
It was done for duplicity, so when the first manager had left here, there was, and then Miss Hannah had left here, there was basically left, I think Aaron had like a week of training from Kate before he left, which was very minimal. And then when he had left, we ran into the same problem when we brought the next manager in. So to add duplicity to it, Ms. Fisher and Mr. Carafa asked me if I would consider doing it. It was also a cost-cutting measure. It saved us close to $30,000 by not going out and hiring with what the people wanted when they came through the door. But yeah, I wouldn't have taken it if it was a conflict of interest.
I didn't think so, but
I definitely wouldn't have done that, and Ms. Vicky searched it, and I did call the state to find out, because that's not something I wanted to bring in here after all the other stuff that went on.
right.
The other safeguard that's in place is the salary for a supervisor who's also an employee is set by the audit committee every year. So it's not the board setting the salary for another board member. It's a separate committee that sets that salary.
And if I remember right, you did abstain from the vote.
I didn't vote on that.
Correct, so so even if you did vote for yourself, that was legal, doesn't constitute according to law, but you didn't, so there's just another, it's all pettiness, that's going on, political pettiness, and it goes back to, at the polls on, I, for the first time in my life, went to the polls, and sat there all day long in support of Bill Carafa, and it was eye-opening, it was fun, but I don't understand why, but the church insisted that I partake in one of their sandwiches that they had purchased from Wawa, and for that, Sean Frisco decided to threaten me, with the state police, or somebody from their end. So the church buys sandwiches, they insist on it many times that I go get one, so I go get one, and the seat of where, of the chief, I'm the vice chair of the planning commission, and so the person whose seat I took threatened to call the police on me, so he's part of that whole thing, the state police, So that takes me to this. Tom DeBello just said, the county commissioner just said like 2 weeks ago that he supports following the law no matter what it is. So that takes me to this. We've, before you came in, there's been a strong appearance of a pattern of corruption for the past 5 years. It started with the, it's really when I started getting involved and paying attention. The ethics violation, back in 2021, in the article in the Potsdam Mercury clearly shows conspiracy by multiple actors. There's definite things, questions that are still out in the open there. There was talk of investigating on this, doing a little bit of investigation by the State Ethics Committee on top of what was already taking place. But then there's the pattern that still happened up until last summer. There was, on December 28th, it was brought to the attention of the board that there was an illegal appointment, after, Frisco's chairman as the lone remaining supervisor called for and held a last-minute meeting an hour early to reappoint someone who was on the planning commission while he was simultaneously holding the position of the township auditor throughout the previous year, and that's in violation of the second-class Township Code Act 69, 1933, section 404B. And this was confirmed by the township solicitor at the time. It's also a potential ethics violation, violating section 1103 if the appointment was made for personal or political gain, such as appointing an ally to secure influence over the township decisions or to benefit the real estate business. It would constitute a conflict of interest under section 1103A of the Ethics Act. Here's an example. This is a real-life example here. The planning committee role would influence would influence the 300-home development project, which would impact the real estate market and potentially benefit Sean Frisco's business. The auditor role oversees the township finances, including expenditures relating to the development, and an ally in this position could help conceal or enable financial decisions that benefit. Then you got the procedural irregularities, last-minute meeting on the 28th of 2023, where they decided to put they were trying to put that person, in for another year. The meeting was held almost spontaneously after, an hour earlier than usual on a different night than usual, which raises concern about transparency and compliance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. Holding meetings at a different hour early on a different night than usual without proper notice very well could violate the Sunshine Act limiting public participation and transparency, which is what it was designed for. This procedural violation combined with the illegal appointment suggests, it makes it appears that there was an intent to push through the appointment without scrutiny, for benefit. Then you have the, I want to ask you this, there was this, from what I'm seeing here, there was the solicitation of township personnel, Sean Frisco as an acting chairman and township supervisor in Upper Frederick, PA, until, last July 24, appears to have engaged in the following: solicitation of township employees. On August 16, 2023, Frisco emailed township, that this was on the internet, I pulled this off the internet. He emailed the township employees soliciting referrals for his real estate business, Cornerstone Realtors, during the negotiation for a 300-home development project. To her credit, township manager Tracy Tackett confirmed that that was inappropriate, citing the current, she responded to citing the current political climate. This likely violates Section 1103, conflict of interest, and Section 1103B, misuse of public resources. And I have emails I printed them out here. So I'm just curious, is there going to be any follow-up on this?
I don't know how we would follow up on that.
The state ethics has an investigative scenario there. And, it's one of those things where, if I'm going to be called, be threatened with arrest from the state police because the church, I went to Frederick Mennonite Church over here, and I have great memories here of being a child and Sunday school, youth group, and partnering up with Perkins-Ville Church, Mennonite Church over there, and doing things with them. So I have a very personal relationship with all this. So to be offered a sandwich by the church that they paid for and have Sean and his self-admitted clown show threaten to have me thrown in jail by the state police of Pennsylvania, that's very personal to me. So this needs to be investigated. At least it needs to be given the opportunity. Tom DeVello just stated a couple weeks ago that he supports following the law, whatever it may be.
I think the ethics violations get filed by, like yourself, a person like yourself. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think you can do it. I know, I've never personally done it. I don't know how to do it. I just know that it was done previously, but I couldn't tell you how to do it. But I do know you can reach out to Harrisburg, I guess, to do it. And
The State Ethics Commission has a website that would have information on it, on how to file a complaint and who to talk to.
Okay, I don't know if you have access to any of this, maybe you don't, I don't know. The email. Hey Kate, I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out to my friends and colleagues to let everyone in my network know that I'm now in the real estate business and I'm here to help anyone with real estate needs. My years of experience in the adjacent fields and roles, as well as an engineering degree and MBA, have provided me with highly transferable and useful skills to put me ahead of most realtors. Not to mention my work ethic and creative abilities to providing winning solutions. My latest success is securing a set of buildings containing the South Street Diner under contract. I'm working on new projects, both large and small, and well versed in all aspects of real estate, commercial, residential sale. If you know someone or if someone you know is considering buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I would be honored if you would keep me in mind. Referrals are critical to this business, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would refer anyone who might need real estate services. Feel free to make an introduction and send me their contact information, and I will reach out to them. Your trust and confidence in me mean the world, and I am committed to going above and beyond to deliver outstanding results. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, inquiries, or even just to catch up. Thank you. Sean A. Frisco, Cornerstone Realtors, and my phone numbers. So, that's it. Thanks.
sure.
Right, just one question. Dave Hanson, Do I have to get up though? Can I sit here? You can hear me, my voice is loud enough. The only question I have is, he brought up the sunshine. How are you handling the other supervisors coming into the building now with questions for the office, since you're the other supervisor? You know, can you guys discuss things? Because isn't
We
that,
can talk, we just can't,
They can't
you
make
can't
decisions.
deliberate and make decisions and things like that.
so they can have meetings and not be a meeting?
We
Not
can't have
meetings,
meetings.
no. Mm.
Okay, I was just curious how you were
Will comes in to
handling.
sign the check sometimes, like he'll come up
Yeah,
here.
no, what I mean, I know a lot of times supervisors would have questions for the admin. Being a supervisor, are you discussing the item?
That's Mr. Wallace's job. So-
Okay,
So he
that's all I was
handles,
asking.
and I don't know what you would be referencing, like what type of questions.
I don't
he'll
know,
have.
I don't know, because I know a lot of times we had to rely as a supervisor on asking the admin to look up stuff and do stuff for us. How do you handle a supervisor? In other words, if a supervisor comes in, do you send them automatically to him
So-
instead of you answering the question?
The answer is yes to that in almost all circumstances. One of the steps that we did take in defining Bill's role as an administrative secretary is his duties and responsibilities are spelled out on signed letterhead agreement in terms
Okay.
of what his duties are. Right now, it's working as an accounts payable and receivable clerk.
So any of the questions would come to you?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. I just was curious, because I know when we were supervisors, we'd have a hard time if all three of us showed up at the office at the same time to sign checks, and you're saying, woo, if somebody drives by and sees all three of our cars here, it
Yeah,
doesn't look good, you know, and that
You
was
can
just
all three get
questioning.
together, you just can't deliberate, make
Okay.
decisions, things like that. There are emails that come in from,
The majority of that communication nowadays is through a phone call or email.
Okay,
Right,
I was just curious, since he brought up sunshine, I was just curious
yeah,
how you were handling that fact.
yeah. Well, with Bill's family being friends with my family, I talk to him all the time, so it's a dynamic, but that's with any position here.
Yeah, because we always had a problem, because all three supervisors were at the firehouse. And is that a problem, you know, if we're all there at the same time,
Right.
you know, you can't talk about stuff.
Yeah, especially
Okay.
being the firehouse, you know, you guys gotta remain neutral in politics.
Okay, just curious how you were handling it, makes sense.
No, appreciate that. Anybody else?
Can I
No?
ask- Can
Oh,
I
you
ask
say-
a question?
Can you come up here, Denise? You gotta tell everybody who you are. Dave's got a bum wheel, so.
Yeah.
Deneen Rhodes-Kratz, I live on Big Road. What happened to, I wasn't here at the last meeting, what happened to the other office manager?
Resign.
He resigned. Okay.
These guys are in high demand, and, there's a lot more money that bigger townships can pay than we can pay, but I'm not sure, you know, I can tell you any more than he resigned
Okay.
personnel there.
Those are the country for city folk.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right. Let's go to approval of the June 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Ms. Lisa, have you had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. Bill, did you review yours?
And I agree with them.
All right, want to make a motion to approve them? I'd like to be able to advertise these for everybody.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for June 11th, 2025 as written. Do I have a second?
Aye, second.
All in favor?
All those in favor, Lisa? Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
All right, for the treasurer's report tonight, she has given us a general overview of the township's finances. A more detailed report is posted in the hall for public use. The highline look at this is currently year-to-date expenditures are at 43.78%, so slightly under budget this time of year. That number should be 50%, we're at 43%. Revenues year-to-date into the general fund are at 54.6%, which is slightly above what we had budgeted and expected at this point of the year. Take that with a grain of salt though, because this is when everyone normally pays their taxes, so we tend to do better at this point in the year, and it will eventually fade as the year continues on. That's a very high-level look at where we're standing right now with the treasurer's report. Moving next, for the treasurer's report, we'll talk about the bills to be paid. The bills total this month, $108,279.66. Those bills cover the administrative and operating expenses of the township and our professional services that are utilized. I would ask the board to create a motion to have those bills paid.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $108,279.66 to avoid any interest or penalties. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The last thing I have for myself to report tonight is I would like to thank our Public Works Department here. With all the storms that we've been having lately, those guys have been putting in extra hours here in the township, clearing roads and making sure stormwater drains are clear. They put in a lot of work, and I really appreciate that work that they have been doing. That's included partnership with some neighboring townships, as we've had some trees come down on lines on shared roads. So I'd like to thank them for that effort. The other thing I'd like to do is congratulate Chris Jones on welcoming a son to his family. Had a healthy baby boy. We thank him and hope he's having a good time to being a fresh new parent again.
All right. Emergency Services Report. We'll do Plymouth Ambulance, since that one's the first one in the binder here. There's no representative from Plymouth, right? Monthly total for Upper Frederick Township is 40. Year-to-date total is 180 calls. Frederick Living accounts for 18 of those monthly calls. And year-to-date, they account for 105 of those calls. Let's see, we got nice PSP. Do we know how many calls there were, Aaron? Total here, what do we got? What am I gonna do? Looks like 18 calls here, general offenses.
Majority were traffic offenses or accidents.
Yep,
Very little of concern is happening in the township that the state police are reporting for this month.
yeah.
And then normally we have a fire report. We were told this month that they are updating their systems. We don't have a usual fire report. We have had a problem with false calls from Frederick Living in recent history. Our fire marshal just met with them today. They've identified two main concern areas in two different sections of the building over there. They're going to be replacing not only the sensors but also the meters in those two locations, and we're hopeful that the replacement of those parts will alleviate the false calls that we are getting from Frederick Living.
I can tell you, in an email I got, that the Upper Frederick Fire Company had a total of 14 fire/incident calls during the month of June. And year-to-date total as of 6/30/25 is 90 fire/incident calls. So I did get an email report, which was nice.
The state is forcing us to switch our system.